This is the GCF, the greatest common factor. Greatest common factor. I'm going to teach you a method today. If you're wise, you'll learn the method. I'll make it easy. What we're going to do is today we'll learn about the greatest common factor, the GCF. Tomorrow we'll learn about the least common multiple, the LCM. You need to keep them straight. They're two different things. They're similar in ways, but the way you figure them out at the end is different. So I'll teach you a methodology that will allow you to figure out the GCF, and also it'll set you up to figure out the LCM. So try to learn the methodology. As I've tried to instruct you guys, the key is in the details. Pay attention to details. Some of you are not detail oriented. It gives you trouble in math. You don't pay attention to detail, and that hurts you in math. Well, try to get over that. Try to get better at that because the details are key. Well, let me try to give you an idea of what the GCF is. So the only space I have is up here. I'm going to write the number 50 and the number 100. When you talk about a GCF, you're talking about two or more numbers. So we'll go ahead and fill in number 1. The GCF is the largest. Of course, you could use the same word. You could use greatest, right? That's why it's called the greatest common factor. They didn't want to use largest because, remember, tomorrow is the least, and it'd be too confusing. All right, so they use G for greatest. But the GCF is the largest number that is a factor of all the given numbers. I have an example with 2 numbers. You could do it with 3 numbers, 4 numbers, 8 numbers, 50 numbers if you want, all right? And it would be the largest number that is a factor of all of the numbers you're considering. So, for example, is 2 a factor of both 50 and 100? Yes, because 2 times 25 is 50, and 2 times 50 is 100. So yes, 2 is a factor of both. Is it the greatest common factor? No. Because isn't 5 a factor of both? 5 times 10 is 50, right? And 5 times 20 is 100. And 5's a factor of both. Is 5 the greatest common factor? No. Because you know what? 10 is a factor of both, isn't it? 10 is a factor of 50, 10 times 5, and 10 is a factor of 100, 10 times 10. Is 10 the greatest common factor? And the answer still is no. All right. Does anybody know what the greatest common factor is? Nathan? It would be 50, right, in this case. Is it always all of one of the numbers? No. Just in this example, it was 50 is the greatest common factor. Now, let me go through this spiel as well because it's important, especially for some of you in your minds. All right. Remember, when we try to teach you concepts, we try to teach you the concepts on easy things so we don't overwhelm you and you can understand it, right? So here's what some people want to do. Oh, I could tell the GCF of those 2 numbers like that. I don't need to pay attention to the details and how to get it. I just know how to do it because these are easy. Well, they're not all easy. And you need to learn the methodology so you can find the GCF of anything, even if there's variables. Okay? So just pay attention to detail. Honestly, I think these are pretty easy, and the methodology will make it even easier for you if you'll just follow it. So here's what we're going to do. Let's fill out this little box here, and just got to keep going back to the box, and you'll be in great shape. Let's see, I think I need to move my shade. Yeah, we'll just get rid of that whole thing there. Come on, shade, go away. Shade, shade, go away. All right, what in the world? There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so to find the GCF, what do you want to do? A, first, factor the numbers to prime numbers. We did that on the quiz yesterday. We did it in class on Tuesday, right? Factoring the prime numbers, so we know how to do that. So that's what you got to do first. B, this is my favorite part. Make a chart. Make a chart of the factors. What? Make a chart. Crazy, all right? We have charts in Jersey. All right, make a chart of the factors. Now here comes some details. Here comes some details. Um, A, or number one, line up the factors. I have an example down below. And notice how the 2's are lined up, the 2's are lined up. This 2 has a column, 3's are lined up. Things are lined up. That's important. It's important to keep things lined up. All right, you sloppy people. You know, your chart's a mess. So that's not good. And look, I'm going to help you out. We're going to have a worksheet that's got places to line things up. But when you get to the quiz and test, there will be no more worksheet. And you'll have to do it on your own, okay? Matter of fact, oh, I did it all the way to the back. I was too nice to you guys. All right, so anyhow, that's the idea. And we'll practice on a couple of the examples later on. What else do you have to do? So you line up the factors. Number two, only put the same factors in the same column. Oh, this is where students mess up. But it's simple. Hey, 2's only go in a 2 column. You can't put a 3 in the same column with the 2. You can't put a 5 in the same column with the 3. That's why this gap is there, right? I can't put the 3 underneath the 2. The 3's a 3. The 2's a 2. Okay, the 3 doesn't belong underneath the 2. So I have a gap there. And so you just keep them in the same column. All right, then what's the GCF? The GCF will be the intersection. The GCF will be the intersection of the factors. We've talked about intersection before, but honestly, when they're in a chart like that, it's simply the factors of the columns that are full. So look, when you look at this thing, you don't need to write this. You can if you want. This is column 1, this is column 2, this is column 3, this is column 4, and that's column 5, right? And nothing's in column 6. Do you agree? Columns go this way, rows go this way, right? Rows are horizontal, columns are vertical. Is column 1 full? And the answer is yes. So we need the 2 for column 1. Is column 2 full? Yes. We need the 2 for column 2. Is column 3 full? No, so we don't write a 2 there. Is column 4 full? Yes, so we write whatever its value is, and that's 3. And is column 5 full? No, so we don't write it. There's your GCF, 2 times 2 times 3. Now, how do we leave the answers in GCFs? Those are usually smaller numbers, and we'll multiply them out. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Final answer, GCF of 12. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. Now, you got to be careful. You have to be able to factor correctly. And again, you got to pay attention to detail. What do I see students not do? I see them not lining up their factors, and I see them not keeping a column for only the same factors. That's where they mess up. And what a shame, because it's really a pretty simplistic thing. Pretty simplistic. Any questions so far? GCF? Okay, let's do some then. Let's do some. So number 3. We got the number 28 and the number 30. Somebody raise your hand and tell me how to factor 28. Colby? 7. All right, Colby says 7 and 4. Fine. That's the way his brain works. And Colby, what else? Is that it? We done? No. What else? Factor the 4 and the 2. Yeah, and guys, I don't know why, but numbers of you leave 4s for some reason. All right, a 4 is a 2 times 2. 4 is not prime, so be careful with that. Okay. So I like to factor both numbers before I start filling out the chart, and that's important. So let's do the 30. Somebody raise your hand and tell me how to factor 30. Hayden, go ahead. All right, Hayden took that 10 out, and what else would you do? All right, and a 10 is a 5 times 2. And again, I'm trying to be wise, so I'm crossing out a factor after I use it so I don't get all mixed up. Okay, now I'm going to start writing my chart. So I look at my 28. It's a 2 times 2 times 7. Well, I know I can go 2, and I know I can go 2. You just got to be careful where you're going to stick the 7. I like to do something like this, just stick it down the road. Or I like to wait until I do the other one first. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to leave off that 7. Don't forget it. That's my fear. Some of you guys will forget it. You know, let's just stick it down here because some of you guys are going to forget it. You might say, why didn't you put it right after the 2? I'll show you why in a minute. So let's do the 30. Hopefully you agree that first 2 will go right there, right? Where am I going to stick the 3? Allison? Yeah, I got to go past that 2 up above, right? I can't stick a 3 in a 2 column. And now the 5 goes here. So actually that's where the 7 needed to be anyhow. I keep my factors in order. And that's wise. It's just another little tip that makes life easier for you, Chloe. That is a 6, isn't it? Isn't that a 28? Make that a 28. Yep. You guys have first edition notes, so whenever you find stuff like that, let me know and we'll make corrections and we'll get there. Yeah, that's definitely 28 and 30, right? The 2 numbers that we had. Okay, so now you go ahead and finish the bottom and put your final answer in. We'll see if you are catching on already. This is a pretty easy one. I hope you can handle the multiplication. If not, you're scaring me. Because it's just 2, right? All right, 2 is the GCF of that. It's the only number that we have both columns cared for. Okay, so let me pause the video and you guys go ahead and do B. All right, on 3, out loud, give me your answer. 1, 2, 3. 6. All right, great. I heard a nice, loud, resounding 6. Because that 18 is a 2 times 3 times 3. And 42 is a 2 times 3 times 7. Method makes it pretty easy, doesn't it? Not a whole lot of thinking involved. Just factor the numbers. And again, this is going to help us with gigantic numbers. It's going to help us when there's 3 or more numbers. It's going to help us with variables. And look, I hate to tell you where we're headed, but we're heading towards Algebra 1 next year with polynomials. Cool. We'll do the same thing. Exact same idea. Chloe. What do you mean? So like your other 3 is like way out here? And then your 7 would be outside of it? Was the 7 before the 3? Why? Yeah, so in other words, your 3 is here and your 7 is here. Why? I mean, Chloe, technically you're okay, but why get out of order? Math is nice and orderly. And if you were worried about having space, and that's why you did the 3 out there, here's the way I do mine, just so you know. So when I looked at my 18 and I put my 2 in, I noticed that the 42 had only 1 2 as well. Good. That means I can go right to my 3's, and because they're the same, they can always go right together. They're the same number. Then it'll never mess up the bottom number. But I gave you an easy one to begin with. You'll see it gets a little bit trickier when there's a lot more factors. I try to keep them in order. Technically, do they have to stay in order? No. When we do LCMs, Earth to Daydreamers, tomorrow, we're not going to get a final number answer. We're going to leave our answer to an LCM in factored form. When you write your answer in factored form, do you put the factors in numerical order? You do. So again, does your chart have to be in perfect order? No, but you better be careful to remember to put your final answer that way. And here with these, we're multiplying anyhow. So I think it's best, but it's not a big deal if it's not. But you don't want to put a 3 in a 7 column or a 7 in the 3 column. That you don't want to do. Yes? Oh, yeah. First edition. I bet everyone does, right? Did I do it every single time? No, I didn't put anything on the next one. All right. Boy, quick to not get Kool-Aid. I just read today that happened in 1978. And here's the crazy thing, and I don't remember the earlier date. I think it was 1967 or 1968 or 1969. Jim Jones, that cult leader, predicted that the world would end. And it didn't. He was wrong. And the crazy thing is, like 8 or 9 years later, he convinced them all to drink the Kool-Aid, even though he was wrong on his prediction. Go figure. Did you guys know that Jehovah's Witnesses predicted the end of the world numerous times? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Before 1900, 1914, 1941, a bunch of them lately. And then they finally quit. They finally got smart. It didn't happen. Anyhow, that's a whole other story. All right, go ahead and try C. All right, so hopefully you're factoring your numbers. And there's 1, 2, 2 2s, 3 2s, and a 5. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. How many got 40? Perfect. Easy, right? As long as you can factor. As long as you can factor. As long as you can factor. Let's do another. Oh, I got smart. I stopped putting the numbers there. Okay, D is actually partway done. Okay? The numbers are already factored. It should be easy. Don't let it trip you up. Like, man, okay, cool. It's halfway done. Nice. This one's a little tricky. That top number, so I know 2 times 2. And I'm looking at the second number, and I know it doesn't have more than 2 2s. So I can do my 3. But I look at the bottom number, and doesn't the bottom number have 2 3s? So I need another space for another 3. And then I'm going to do my 2 5s. But then I look below, and it's got a space for a 7. And in my notes, I have room, and you guys have room to the right, for that last 7. I got to put mine right there because my screen is right at the end. But you guys have room at the right of your chart for that last 7. And that's where I stuck it in my notes. I'm sorry, the 11, right, not the 7. So you got room after that last box to put your 11. Because watch what happens when you, and again, this doesn't have to be perfect that way, but it just makes life easier. I'm lining up my 2s and my 3s, my 5, and I needed that spot for my 7, right? That's why I put the 11 outside the chart. And remember, I just made the chart as a template. You're going to be on line paper when you do them for real. All right, and so what's the answer? We got a 2 from the 2 column, a 3 from the 3 column, and a 5 from the 5 column. So 2 times 3 is 6 times 5, and the GCF is 30, right? So that's an easy one. It's already factored for you. So if you get one like that tonight on the worksheet, and you will, say, oh, cool, it's already factored for me. Nice. I'm ready to fill out the chart and figure out the GCF. Is that right? You're supposed to say, is that right? All right. Uh-oh. No chart. Now we're in trouble. Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And 3 numbers. Math's impossible. There's no way you can figure out. I don't even know why I would bother to ask you to try it and see if you can do it yourself, because it's 3 things. We've only done 2. How in the world are you going to do it? There's no place for your chart except for line paper. There's no way you can get it. Let's see what you can do. Give it a shot. Of course. All right, if you got an answer on 3, nice and loud. 1, 2, 3. Just 2? But these are hard and impossible, and we've never done them before. And how would you ever get 2? It would be impossible. Just factor the numbers, line them up. You need a full column, right? And the 2 is the only full column, right? A full column. A bunch of you got it right. How many got it right? Let me see your hands. Okay, bunch of you. Good. Good application of what we've learned. Now let's get to the pièce de résistance. The crème de la crème. I don't know, that's all the good, spectacular words I know, or phrases. All right, let's get to the nitty of the gritty. Now, surely nobody will get the last one, because look, we got variables, and there's just no way we're going to deal with variables. All right, come on, get out of my way. Thank you. So we got variables to deal with, and I'm sure this one's impossible. There's just no way. But there's a few of you, maybe 2 or 3 of you. You can find the GCF of these 2 numbers. Give it a shot. Seriously, give it a shot. Try it. Here, you want a hint first? All right, let me give you a hint. Wait. Everybody look. Here's a hint. There you go. Everybody got the hint? There's a hint. Factor prime numbers, make a chart, line up the factors, put the same factors in the same column. The intersection will be the GCF. All right, there's your hint. All right, see what you can do. That was a good hint. I'm going to pause the video. Let's find out on 3, out loud. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Very, very interesting. Okay. So I know you did a 2, right? And I heard a 5. Because I heard a 10, right? Yeah. But a few of you went past 10, didn't you? And did I hear an X and a Y for a grand total of 10XY? Anybody get it? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, magnifico. Right? Hey, does it make sense now you see it? Great job, guys. Well, the number part, you shouldn't be the hard part, right? The number should be the easy part. Does that make sense now that you see it? Right? Isn't that what the GCF is? What are the full columns? A 2 full column, a 5 full column, 1 X full column, 1 Y full column. Why we just factored? You all know an X squared is an X times X. You all know a Y squared is a Y times Y. Right? You just apply what you learn. Look, that's math. We got to learn some generalities and principles, and then we got to do it to all the different variations, all the different stuff. By the way, that's really Algebra 1. You don't get to do those yet. I know. Because if you learn, hey, guys, one last word here, and I'll turn you loose. Just pay attention. The one thing we'll always try to do in the class is teach you things that will solve everything all the way through. Sometimes you learn a method now and a different one later and a different one later. Why? We'll learn one thing and it'll teach us and it'll allow us to do everything all the way through if you'll pay attention to detail. All right, that's it for today.